What is up, you guys? My name is Sarah Lane McNew, and you are listening to the Made for More podcast. Today we have on such an iconic guest. She's an author, she's a speaker, she's a writer. If you're a Gen Zer, you know her, you love her, Grace Valentine.
Hello, guys. I'm so excited to be on with my friend Sarah. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited, Grace. This is truly an iconic mashup because Grace was on my first podcast I ever started. And so now that she's sitting here with me, Made for More for Good Source, is just such a beautiful thing from the Lord. And it's so fun. And I'm so honored that you're here.
I'm so honored to be here. I've loved the OG. Even excited about this cute little rebrand, but keeping what makes it so special. I've always loved your podcast. And it's so fun because at that point we were doing Zoom, which
True.
Maybe was it 2 years ago? And I just hate Zoom.
Same.
I just avoid doing Zoom at all costs. I think after COVID, I just was like, I want to be anti-Zoom for the rest of my life. I want to meet people in person.
Please.
So it's way more fun to be here in person, even though that was really fun and sparked our friendship in a virtual way.
Yes.
So thank you for having me.
Wait, yes. And it's so funny too, because really the foundation of our friendship was virtual because that's how we connected. And then you reached out to me and were like, hey, I'd like for you to be one of these leaders at my camp. And like, it wasn't even like, I didn't even flinch. I was like, I'm coming. And that weekend was genuinely so much fun. Like, I had no idea how much I needed that in my adult life of like being at a camp in the mountains, like pouring in and pouring out with girls. And just the fact that you started that too, it's just a testament to how the Lord's moved through you and just creating a place where people can. Now I have friends from that I hung out with one of them over Christmas break.
That's so cute.
You're a connector.
Camp friends.
Camp friends.
I love connecting people, but even more, I love praying about decisions you have to make, and I need more leaders. I'm like, there was that cool girl on Zoom. Sarah, maybe I should hit her up. And I'm like, surely she won't say yes. Like, that'd be weird. I'm just a stranger.
Just Zoom
and
girl.
You were like, yeah, I'm down. Came with your like cute little workout set. Be like, what can I do to help? And I'm like, this girl's awesome. And so it was so fun. And that time, it was a retreat for anyone who doesn't know, a retreat for college and post-grad girls. And I had done it for 3 years, but everything that could have gone wrong almost did that weekend. The power in the whole town went off. There was no storm. Like, the power just went off.
That.
So the place we were supposed to eat closed down. We had to move. And then we were supposed to do baptisms. And then they couldn't get the baptism thing. Everything that could have gone wrong did. And it was the coolest thing because there was this woman named Jill Dasher who opened up her house and her pool for us to do baptisms in the dark.
Amazing.
And so it was great having spiritual friends like y'all. I'm like, will y'all just pray? Like,
no,
I have to make a
so
decision
true.
and look like I know what I'm doing.
Right.
But having friends do that with you makes everything more fun.
It makes it so much better.
And new friends. Yeah. And now we're friends, and you got friends from camp friends, real life friends.
That's iconic. I actually forgot about the baptisms in the pool. That was so amazing. Like the way that all turned around and it ended up being such a cooler story that the Lord used it. It was just, and like the restaurant closing down and like showing his faithfulness, opening up an even bigger restaurant. It was just amazing.
Oh my goodness. And just having to make quick decisions and God just opening the exact door that was meant to be open. Yeah. And I will always admire Zach and Jill Dasher. I'm like, that's the kind of person I want to be one day. I want to have a pool in my backyard. That'd be great.
Amen.
God provide. I'm just kidding.
Please.
But dear God, I'm just kidding. That's not like from the Lord. But I want to be someone who's like hospitality is a spiritual gift. And they gave it to us that weekend when we needed it the most in last minute. And so that was such a blessing for me, and to be around y'all and it reminds you that your ministry is never done. Like, you have a house, guess what? You have a new ministry. You're gonna maybe be opening it up to 80 girls from all over for baptisms. And praise God. I think we had like 11 girls get baptized. Yeah. And I know you baptized one. It was a beautiful time.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, just thank you for that experience, Grace.
Yeah.
Well, jumping in, I'm starting a lot of my episodes with a nice little game.
Oh, I love games.
So, we love a game. And so we're going to play Would You Rather.
Ooh,
and I'm just going to come at you with some would you rathers, and we're going to see which one you would, quite frankly, rather. All right, so here we go. All right, starting out, would you rather have a small, close friend group, or would you have a giant friend group?
Wow. This is obviously, you're going to say small, close friend group, but at the same time, I love community. So I want to be very clear that I think sometimes as young women, we're like, I want the small girl clique.
Right.
4 best friends who do everything together, but you need a tribe and you need a village.
Yep.
So, but I also want to be known, fully known in a way that's like Christ. I have to choose small friend group. What's yours?
I would say the same. I
Yeah.
would say quality over quantity
Completely.
in the sense of truly being known. So I agree with that. However, I feel like we're very similar in that of like, I love like having the community of connections and people that you can, you know, do things with and for. And like, there's just something about that. I feel like God really uses that. And so I think you can have a mix. And so people don't always process that of like, you don't necessarily have to have one or the other. You can be really known intimately by some, but then enjoy the community of like meeting new people all along.
Have you heard, like, if you look at a tree, that there's 3 levels of friendship? There's the roots, there's the branches, and there's the leaves. And so the idea that the leaves, they wither through seasons. Like, that's a temporary friendship. The roots are, you know, this one year, you may have a friend that lives in the city, but then you move and you're not friends with them anymore. But the roots are the ones that actually are your consistent friends, are your community that root you in God and His Word. And so I think it's so important to have all that. But if I had to choose, I'd choose my roots. So
I like that.
Yeah.
The tree analogy. That's good. Okay. All right. Number 2, would you rather wear sweats every day or dress up every day?
Oh, gosh. Even though my wardrobe would probably say sweats, if I had to choose, I would say dress up every day. Because that's actually one of my goals this year too. I told her earlier, Sarah, that I was working on my better posture this year, but also I'm trying to dress cuter for places because I got so used to wearing workout clothes everywhere.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
real.
I would bump into people. I'm like, oh no, I'm so embarrassed. Like, I didn't see this coming. I'm at Publix, you know, like a very common grocery store for everyone to go to. So I say dress up.
Okay. I like that.
What's yours?
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, like the athletic, like dancer side of me likes to wear like more comfortable clothes.
Yeah.
However, like for work, I dress up, but I also enjoy dressing up because I feel like I'm really girly. So
Okay, but you're
a
someone when
blend.
you wear workout clothes, for some reason, you look high end and dressed up.
Wait,
So, I don't know if
such
it's
a
you wear
compliment.
when you wear like hoops, good hair, a little makeup, and suddenly I'm like, ooh, love her black tie. I'm kidding, but
what? I
like,
feel
you
just-
look good. When I wear workout clothes, everyone's like, oh, did you run already? And I'm like, no, I just put this outfit on. This is just sweat from walking into my car. You know,
I'm dead.
So
not true.
some people can pull it off better.
Well, I thank you for that, but I don't agree with that. But thank you. Okay, next one is listen to one song for the rest of your life on repeat or never be able to repeat a song again.
Oh wow, probably never be able to repeat a song. What was yours? What would yours be?
I claim I have ADHD, so I probably listen to the same song
I
on
know.
repeat.
Oh,
Because
really?
like if I couldn't listen to
What
that
would the
one
song be?
well, now I'm under the hot seat. My favorite song of all time. This is a really hard question, and now I'm getting hot.
Yeah,
My-
you see,
my-
I was thinking if I'm so ADD that I can't just have one thing and be happy.
That's real.
My mind has to bounce. Okay, wait, I have a funny would you rather that's very similar to
Wait,
this one.
please ask me.
Okay. Would you rather get every song that's ever existed, but it's all in Pitbull's voice? Or would you rather have only Pitbull songs, but it's in every singer's voice that
Oh.
has ever existed?
As hard as that is, I would have to go, I think, with the first one because I don't love enough of Pitbull's songs to only have that collection.
But then you could have like an acoustic version, an Ed Sheeran version.
True. Like Justin Bieber.
I think I would choose the
Demoing
opposite.
Timber.
I think I would need the voices. I think hearing Mr. Worldwide over and over again on William C. But I love the lyrics. so I mean, Pitbull songs, I'm sure could be deep and
Right.
good.
We could find it
as
in
long
there.
as we still get worship songs, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But because I don't know if there's any Pitbull songs I can really just sing
Right.
at church. But
Same. That was such a good question. Like I've never been asked
I
that,
know,
surprisingly.
and I hope Pitbull doesn't listen to this and be like, they're
Same.
haters.
That would be really sad.
I'd be pretty excited. That's good.
Okay, 2 more. Would you rather drive in silence or blast music the whole time? Like you can only choose one of those. You can only drive in silence from here on out, or you have to have music.
Okay,
playing
I'm the
loud.
girl who, when I have to park, I turn my music down. Do you ever do that?
That's
As
real.
if that like helps me park.
Right.
But it's like I have to fully concentrate.
That's so true.
My thoughts can be pretty entertaining. So I think I might choose silence. I love music, but I like to run the music. With driving, there's a lot of times where I'm like, let me just sit here and think in my thoughts.
Same.
So weird.
My car time's like my prayer time.
Yes.
Used to be music, but now I'm like,
There was a time when I gave up, I think during Lent one season, which I'm not Catholic, obviously, but I still like to participate in Lent, where I gave up listening to music in the car. And so anytime I craved it, I was like, okay, time to pray.
Yeah.
And then it's
actually
a
a
good
really good
time
idea.
to control yourself.
Yeah.
And that.
yeah, that's a good one. Okay, last one. Would you rather know you're getting proposed to or be completely surprised?
Ooh, that's a good question because I'm currently in the season. Maybe by this airs, I'll have a cute little ring. But okay, so I think the way that I'm doing it now is I'm going to hopefully be surprised in the next
Right.
couple of months, but I know it's happening.
Right.
I think if there was a surprise, like we were dating 6 months in, he's like, oh, here it is. I'd be like, no, like, not no to that, but it would be so
Scary.
weird if you never had conversations before.
Right.
But, and I do think I'm going to be the girl who in the next 2 months just keeps getting funny bunny chrome on my nails.
Sure. I mean,
but I don't want to be the girl wearing which once again, I have so many friends who would get a cute white dress and be like, okay, every weekend they're putting this bad boy on. And it's funny, for New Year's Eve, I was wearing this white sweater dress and I'm like, guys, I'm not doing this because I think I'm getting proposed to. Don't worry. I just had a white sweater dress on. Like, oh no, what if it's tonight?
Yeah.
But I'd probably say be surprised, but still be dressed up and know it's coming in the next 2 months.
Right. Like have a good idea of what you need to feel prepared, but yet the true surprise.
Because I do have my nails done. You know, don't want to be too crusty. But I always get my nails done.
The
I'm like, oh no,
real.
someone's going to have to trick me to go. No one's going to have to trick me. I'm going to be like, it's coming. Time to do it.
Yep. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Good to
What
know
about
about you
yours?
too. Well, personally, I don't really have that on the horizon, but
Hey,
if
I like having hope. It's gonna. I think as girls we can be so, well, I don't want to think about it yet because I'll get too excited. I'm like, you're not planning our wedding. You know?
True.
True. That. You're gonna get married. You have a
just a
holy
thought.
desire. It's
You're so right, Grace.
you don't have to be negative Nelly. You
You're
know?
right.
You're made for more. I'm
she's
joking.
she's negative Nelly's made for more, really.
Yeah.
Well, if I was in that time, I think I would want to be like completely surprised.
Completely. Like it's okay if your nails are crusty.
But see, I'm the same.
Yeah.
They won't be crusty.
They won't. I know because you know it's in the next like 2-3 months. So
right. Like you just keep it up.
Yeah.
So I'm similar. I would just want to like not have a clue,
Yeah.
except a small clue.
But like, oh no, I look cute.
Right. Be like, oh no. Is it now? Okay, that was Would You Rather. We're going to go ahead and jump into today's topic, which is feelings versus emotions and how to steward those well, especially when God says wait. And so we often use the words feelings and emotions interchangeably when really feelings happen to us. So if I'm, really scared of something, the emotion is that, but what I'm feeling might be, oh, I'm not good enough, or oh, I'm not going to be able to execute it. And so emotions themselves are actually like signals that God created emotions, right? But oftentimes we let our feelings take over and we let them lead. And so I know this is something that you're pretty passionate about when you talk to girls, of not letting those things define them and truly setting their minds on above, as scripture tells us. And so just kind of starting out, like, what would you kind of share about, man, like, here is really what I've learned as I've been pouring into all these girls of the difference between feelings and emotions?
Yeah, I love that you're talking about this because it reminds me of even in all of us, no matter how old you are, whether you're 30, whether you're 16, whether you're 24, we all remember being 14 and that first time we saw a friend group hang out with us. And like I remember going on Snapchat and seeing the cool group who had all Vera Bradley lunch boxes that I couldn't ever use their print. And they were all hanging out without me. They had a sleepover and I had asked them that day at school, what are we doing after school today? It's the weekend. And like, oh, we're busy. And then I see it on Snapchat and then I immediately feel sad. I feel left out. And then next, I feel worthless. I feel like no one wants to be my friend. Suddenly you jump to the craziest conclusions instead of jumping to truth. Like your emotions, once again, like you said, are not bad. If anything, your emotions can be a bridge to connect more with your creator. Yep. But a lot of times our emotions can be not deceitful. They are not deceitful, but it gets led to deceitful lies. And suddenly you're jumping to conclusions thinking, well, this whole group is an anti-grace group text and they hate grace and they're never going to invite me. I'm never going to have any bridesmaids. And I remember sitting there as 14 and be like, well, who's my bridesmaids going to be? Okay, talk about aggressive, like chill 14-year-old middle school Grace. Like, I'm like, who's my homecoming group going to be? I'm like, I'm 14. Like you're scared about who you're going to have lunch with tomorrow, but then you're jumping to the craziest conclusions. And that still happens as a grown adult in so many ways. Like I remember at one point being just annoyed with dating world and I became very bitter. And so I was maybe feeling disappointed that something didn't work out with a relationship. And I remember being very sad. And suddenly I jumped to these conclusions that dating sucks. All men suck. Everything is never going to be great. What if I'm called to singleness? Like, it was like the most dramatic jump. And so I think it is so important when you have these emotions, allow your emotions to be a time you jump to prayer, you jump to your creator, that you jump to know the one who created your emotions, who doesn't say your emotions are a sin, but once again, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And so when you trust in the Lord and you remember He is good, He loves me, He sees me, He has plans to prosper me in the future, plans to give me a hope in the future, then you're going to see your emotions and jump to prayer and jump to perspective that comes from holiness and His discernment and not to these crazy conclusions.
Right. No, I love that you said that about actually like experiencing God through the emotion, because like we said, He created them. And so He's not threatened by our emotion. Like a lot of the time I feel like we try to grasp it and control it ourselves, when the root of feeling so much emotion is often we want control, which the root of that is fear. And so like when we're trying to grip and take care of it ourselves, God's like, first of all, I'm not calling you to that, number one. And number two, I know you and I care about you and I want your burdens. Like I want to know how that makes you feel, but I'm not going to leave you there. Like I have so much more, maybe more, that I have in store for you, that I'm allowing you to experience this. But if you'll let me, I'll show you my power and I'll help you navigate how to use that well. Like it doesn't have to define your whole world, right? It can be almost more of a signal and a way to communicate with Him. And so I'm like, I wish I had known that at 16, of like, these emotions don't have to overwhelm you. They can actually help steer you with Christ. And I know that, you know, I read a lot of your posts and they're just so raw and they're just so real. And I feel like the Lord is calling us to actually lay things down at His feet in a real way. And what would you say has really helped you truly be authentic, even in your writing or your laying down about these things? Because I feel like that happens a lot of like, we feel things, but we want to look like we've got it together. We kind of want to look like, oh, like, you know, I'm fine, I'm good. But there is like Psalms, the rhythm of Psalms is laying down cries before the Lord, and that's followed with truth. And so the Lord shows that through the Bible, like, I want you to lay it down, but I'm also going to show you the truth and what you're experiencing and what you need to learn from it. So kind of when you're sharing and you're writing, where do you feel like you're like, Lord, like this is how I want to authentically, you know, help these girls? Because that can be a hard thing to do, is like just be so open and honest about it.
Yeah, well, I think for me, there was a time when it was really hard for me because I was trying to be the chill girl. Everyone knows that girl who's like, I'm laid back. I'm not like other girls. I don't feel anything, emotions. I don't cry about guys I didn't date. Woo, not me, you know? No. I tried to be this chill, cool girl, and that's not me. Like, I'm the girl who does overthink things. Doesn't mean I need to give that power. Right. But I'm the girl who might be too much to some people, might say the wrong things. Obviously, I need to use discernment and be slow to speak, but my personality isn't the chill girl type. And I used to think that was the way that I was supposed to be in order, especially to be liked and to even, I thought that was a healthy way to handle my feelings. And that's not the way to handle your emotions. And so especially when it comes to writing or trying to even be a friend who is vulnerable and is balancing, okay, how do I express this feeling and this emotion without also giving power to it and giving power ultimately to God? And I, especially when it comes to this process, I think it's important to remember the difference between privacy and secrecy. Yeah. And that at the end of the day, you are not called to secrecy. You're not called to keep secrets from people. That is not biblical, but privacy and having a holy discernment is. And so I've especially learned as I process my emotions to have people I feel that I can trust that will point me to Christ, because I also have friends who are non-believers who, if I tell them, hey, I'm upset with my boyfriend because of this, they're going to be like, screw him, he sucks. Like, that's it, pack it up, freeze them eggs. Like, you know, like they'll be a little more dramatic. Sorry, no filter. But then I have friends who are holy and they'll be in a more discernment. They'll bring wisdom. And so just remembering that trust comes from wisdom and discernment. Like, you can decide who gets invited to those private moments to help you process your emotion. But secrecy is a sin. And when you keep things secret and you're not having any sorts of confession, that's when your emotions are going to bottle up and end up exploding. That's good. And you're called to give love and grace to everyone you meet because of the cross and because of Jesus. But you're not called to trust everyone. And so I think just discerning that will help you find the people that you can actually process your emotions with, because there are people who I'll get hurt by a friend, and there's a difference between gossiping about that friend and being like, you know, I feel like she always thinks she's better than me, and that is gossiping, because I just jump to so many conclusions. But if I feel left out about a friend and I tell someone I trust, a mentor, and I say, hey, this situation keeps arising with this friendship, like, what should I do? That person's going to be pointing me to live a holy life and not live in my feelings.
Right. Yeah. No, that's super good, because right when you said that, it reminded me, like, Jesus himself had emotions. Like he came on this earth, experienced things, went through trials, went through processes where he was given all these different things that we deal with as well all the time. So he understood what it was like to experience those things, but then lay them at the feet, and then also allow certain people in that he trusted to be like, this is what God's showing me. This is what I want to go do, and so it's incredible when you really think about the parallel of him being on earth and then the things that we're dealing with. We're riding that same line of like Jesus, the night before he was taken and to the cross and murdered, he was in the Garden of Gethsemane on his knees praying, and he was weeping, and he was saying, Lord, like, if you'll take this from me. And he said, I'm overwhelmed. And I mean, it makes you so, it just makes you just so in awe of like how he was just so vulnerable, sitting there basically saying like, I don't want to do this. But then he said, your will be done. And, he was acknowledging like, this is not something I want to do, but I know that your will is ultimately greater. And so on that extreme, it also, when we experience emotions, I think that's such a beautiful picture of we can just go down on our knees and go, hey, I'm overwhelmed. Like, would you please take this from me? But if you don't, your will be done. Allow me to do it the way that you're calling me to do it. And then really entrusting him with the people that are in your life to do that with does help you actually steward those emotions well, because you're getting scripture and true insight that's spiritually led and grounded into your life that can help you with your perspective and how you pray about it. And so I love that you said that, because it's just like, what a cool parallel it really is. And because also, too, what you were saying is like, we often get led by our feelings when we have the power and authority to actually lead our own feelings. Emotions happen to us, but like we can actually start patterns and rhythms of like, oh, I feel that coming on. I don't have to act on that. I can accept that it's there, but I don't have to do anything with it. And so what's your take on when you hear the term follow your heart? Because we know that's a common phrase used for girls especially.
Oh, yes. All the time. And it's crazy you were just talking about the garden, because I was actually just talking about this story yesterday to a friend who was praying and doing the pretty prayers where it says it was about something in their family that was going on, in a crisis that they were in. And she was very scared to pray for the Lord to take it away. She wanted to just pray, well, whatever your will is, let your will be done, but not share what is emotionally on her heart. So I love that you just shared that, because I think we can feel very guilty, especially as you're walking with God. When you're the good Christian, you know the right answer. You want to just jump to the whatever your will is, God, but you're allowed to be like, hey, God, I'm really excited about this relationship. If this is from you, keep leading it. I'm just really ready for this next step. Or God, if this is your will, like my mom is suffering and she needs healing. Like I am asking for your healing. Like please take this cup. You don't need to feel guilty, but you also need to be like Jesus and walk boldly into what he does give you. And be like, this does not change God's character because this person isn't being healed. This is a broken world, but I'm still allowed to go to God and share my desires that are holy and biblical, and they don't burden God. God can't be burdened by our wants. And so I think just remember, he already knows that you want it. So why can't you share it with him? It's so important. But in the follow your heart thing, I remember just being a young girl, and especially I think we would call it girl gut, especially when we're like, oh, I really like this guy, or I want this relationship to work out. And I was like, my heart is telling me to date the quarterback at the rival school.
Sure.
Like, it'll be so great.
It'll be
I don't
so
know anything
great.
about him. That was not God, that's for sure. And it's deceitful, as scripture says. That in Jeremiah, it talks about how the heart is so deceitful. Who can even understand it? And the truth is, there is someone who can understand it. It's our Creator. And he knows the sin in our heart, and he knows the potential and the purpose we have in our heart. And he knows everything that's meant to be. And there's a reason why in 1 Peter 5:7, scripture also says, cast all your anxiety on God because he cares for you. I think when you notice the heart of God instead of noticing your own heart and its deceitfulness, that is when you can actually cast all your anxiety and you realize that his plans and his purpose are greater than any desires that you think you want today. And I think that's what I wish we talked about more with the follow your heart. And I mean, I love sometimes reality shows. I probably shouldn't love them. And they also talk about that, like on this journey, like, Edward will follow his heart. Like, and see where it goes. And then they're like, oh no, it didn't work out. Right. You're like, I wonder why.
Like, go figure.
But I think our heart is quick to make a decision that isn't wise. And wisdom is something that will protect you from so much pain, especially if there's any younger listeners listening. I wish 16-year-old me, for instance, sought wisdom more than I sought my heart's desire.
Right.
That's the best way to say it. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that too?
No, I fully agree with everything you said, because the heart is deceitful is the number one thing that comes to my mind when I hear the words follow your heart. Now, like what you just said, in high school, I would have been like, follow your heart. Okay, let me do what I'm going to do. You know, like that term was fun.
I'm called to be an influencer and dance the things on TikTok.
Right, and now I'm like, Lord, can I just get through this day? So what does that even mean, follow your heart, you know? So I think you just said that so well, because without him, he did put those desires on our heart. Now that part, you know, is very important to understand, of like those passions and giftings you have are not random. Like he laid those onto your life. So following those can be such a beautiful thing when they're entrusted to him. But when they're on our own terms, it's always set for failure. It may look like it's not failing, but ultimately if it's not under his wing, it's not actually flourishing, you know? So I agree with everything you said. And kind of jumping into the waiting part of this conversation, the other day, a friend and I were talking about how back in the olden days, if I had to wait on anything, I was like, oh, I feel like this is punishment. And it's like, waiting isn't punishment. Waiting is actually purposeful. And I truly believe that God allows us to wait to refine us and to also show his glory in the waiting. Waiting always tends to show, do I actually trust God is who he says he is? And I was thinking the other day, I was like, waiting in line for something for a long time. And I was on my phone, like I was answering texts and emails, and I got to the end of the line and I was like, wait, that actually ended up being super beneficial for me because I got so much done when I was waiting in the line. And so then when I knew we were going to talk about this, I thought about that and I was like, isn't that kind of funny how in life, like I could have waited in that line, so upset that this was taking forever, didn't get anything done, wasted my time scrolling TikTok like that. Honestly, that's happened before, you know, like that. But for some reason that day I was like, I have to get these things done while I'm standing here. And it's a parallel of like when God allows us to wait, if we just sit around and wait for something to happen and cry out in despair constantly, what are we really gaining from him allowing us to wait? Because waiting is ultimately kind of a gift and we don't ever process it like that. But if we use that time to go, Lord, will you actually do what you're wanting to do through me and then show me your glory? So when this waiting season is over, I'm like, only by the hand of God could have done that. Kind of share with us one of your stories about when you experienced like a truly hard waiting season, because I know you've had a few of those.
Yes. Yeah. This girl does not get a fast pass in life. No, I love that story in the line because I've also been in the line for Buc-ee's. You know, the bathroom at Buc-ee's?
Do I know
like
Buc-ee?
A long line.
Do I know
And the worst is when there's a person in front of you who isn't noticing that there's these green lights on the Buc-ee's bathroom door. And I'm like, it's right there. Just keep walking. Like, look around. There's bathrooms open. I'm like, I'm a Christian.
True.
I can't yell at this old woman right now. But it is interesting how people just follow the person in front of them and they don't look and see what God has maybe brought in their life, the bathroom.
Literally.
But I think that is an analogy too of it can be right in front of you and you have to go and see what is available for you at this moment. And if it's not what you want, that's okay because it's what God wants. So what I think about in my life, there's two different things that I feel like I've had to wait on. One, I was furloughed from a job in COVID and I needed for 2.5 years full time while I was juggling and feeling called to grow my social media and my ministry. I'm now in seminary. Like there's so many doors that only God could have opened. But those 2.5 years of nannying, I thought were a setback. I was like, this is not what I want to do. I'm a college graduate. I want to be a mother at this age. Yeah. I thought I was gonna, I went to Baylor and I'm like, oh, I'm not looking for a husband, but who's gonna be dropped off here? Like no one. I was visiting my friends who had kids and I was watching other people's kids. And I remember walking into that nannying job being like, this will be such a setback in my life. I cannot believe this is embarrassing to tell people I'm doing this for 2.5 years. But truly that was God setting up something so much better for me. Those 2.5 years nannying taught me so much about myself. It gave me a family who loved me, who cherished me, who also cared about my faith. A family that I was just randomly connected to through one person who went to this physical therapist. And the lady was like, if you know any babysitters, let me know. And I think so often when I think about that season of a career, a door being closed, God used also every nap time for me to write some future books,
Yes, he did.
to post some things, to figure out my brand that I would not have been able to do if I had a normal job that I kind of wanted, a corporate job.
Right.
In that season. And my parents didn't understand it either. I love my parents and they love the Lord, but they were like, get a job, do this. But I knew that the Lord had called me to focus fully on that and do the nannying job. So I had to be faithful to it, even when it felt crazy on the outside, and have close people that I could talk to. And it was hard, but I think just constantly going to God and remembering that humbling seasons are strong seasons. That I think of that 1 Peter 5:7, I think 7-9, when it talks about, cast all your anxiety in the Lord because he cares for you. And then it says, in the right time, he will lift you up. I think you have to remember that under God's hand, you will be lifted up in the right time. You will be shown why. And I even think of lifted up, and this isn't necessarily what it means, but God has a helicopter view of our life. Like he has a heaven's eye view. He can see every detail. He's in the past and the future and the present. He knows what is going to happen in your future and why you need these 2.5 years of nannying, why you need that job to lay you off, why you need that job to close the door. And so especially I think as your purpose, we get so caught up in our career. And I think if anyone here is waiting on a career or waiting on to figure out the purpose, remember that it doesn't come in the future, that it comes today. And later in the future, you're going to see how God used everything for his glory and for your good. And especially in relationships, because I know a lot of, especially girls, we use the waiting season a lot to talk about when we feel like no one's asking us on a date or it's just a bunch of frogs or nothing seems to work out. And I was so long that girl who had been like perpetually single, like in every state. I was like in the purgatory of singleness. And and I stopped praying for a relationship because then I started almost doubting my prayers. I remember thinking, well, am I idolizing it if I'm praying for it? And in some seasons I probably was. I was like, God, I want a really hot guy and everything great. And finally I remember being 27, feeling so let down again, trying to figure out relationships and getting to a point where I was living in Florida where I felt God, and I hate when people say I felt God speak to me, but this was one time when I really did. It wasn't an audible voice, but it was a thought that came into my head and said, Grace, pray about it again. And I remember thinking, I don't want to pray about a husband again. Like I've given up hope. Like I'm just now at a point where I've figured out my career. I have this all going for me. I've kept myself so busy and I enjoyed that season of singleness. Like I embraced it. I painted my door pink on my front door. I had 8 different roommates. I babysat almost every kid in the Orlando, Florida area. Like I knew all the moms. And I remember like, I don't want to pray, but I just got content. Like I just got content. And I very much felt the Lord was reminding me that you can still have hope and contentment at the same time. You can still have hope for the future and also wait well. Amen. And so I also want everyone here who's waiting on something to think that doesn't mean you have to become the negative Nelly or you have to be think it's never going to happen for you. You cannot idolize that season while just also still having hope for that season. And remembering Ephesians 3:20, that he's going to do immeasurably more than you can ask or imagine. And so I felt God in that moment at 27 be like, pray about it again. Pray about this holy desire. So I prayed about it in a way that I didn't pray about it in 19 years old. I started praying about like, Lord, let your will be done, but I really do want this because this is what I want to do with it. This is what I want in a marriage so that I can know you in a different way. I don't think marriage is the end goal. It's not a level up, but this is why I feel called to this. And I felt then immediately called to move to Atlanta. And once again, drove my Honda Civic full of stuff, full of everything. I had to sell everything on Facebook Marketplace. I was like, if this goes wrong, I'm going to be really screwed. This is an old Honda Civic. This is all I have. And God opened doors only he could have opened up. And then I started dating my boyfriend. But also, for the record, I met my boyfriend 2 months after moving to Atlanta, and I met him on a Hinge. So I also think you can wait well and still put yourself out there. But waiting well, especially in relationships, is not putting pressure on yourself. It's realizing that you're not idolizing the idea of it happening overnight, but you are putting yourself in opportunities to meet people and to live your best, but also to know your boundaries, to know your worth, and to realize that you don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You don't have to prove yourself to a guy or to a job, but you're going to take every endeavor that the Lord has for you and just run your race that he has marked out before you.
That's so good, because I loved when you talked about the helicopter of our life and he'll lift you up, because in Lamentations, he literally said, the Lord is good to those who wait on him. And our culture is so anti that, right? But the Bible's so clear of like, the Lord's word does not come back void. Like there are blessings in abundance when you actually wait on him and trust him in his faithfulness. And Isaiah 40:31, when he says he will renew your strength too. It's like in the waiting, like you're being renewed. And it's like we often just skip past that, but like something is happening on the spiritual realm in seasons of waiting, of like you're becoming more like him if you let it refine you in that way. And so I love that you said that, because every part of your journey in that waiting season was renewing and refining and remolding to get you even to where you are now. Whereas this season, we'll be doing that in some capacity for the next season. And so it's just cool because he's never not working. And you're able to look back and recount his faithfulness and be like, dang, like I had no clue that waiting season was about to launch this other thing in my life, you know? And it's like, so never deny the power of what he's doing, because if you let him use it in ways, you know, it's just so cool to also, you know, see your platform now, the way you're speaking to girls and the way that, you know, you've just had such a gift in writing. You really do. And it's just like so natural for you. And it's like, man, if you hadn't been babysitting and concocting up some of those, you know, just like those like posts that you made, like they were from your heart and they were from a vulnerable place of, Lord, like, I don't know what you're doing, but I know this is what you're calling me to. And like, that's trusting him, you know? And like, it's not always easy. And sometimes he puts us in situations where he's like, okay, do you trust me? Or like, we're about to find out, you know, and you get rocked and you're like, yeah, maybe I didn't trust you as much as I thought I did. So your story is truly just a beautiful showing of like, waiting is not punishment, but it is with purpose. And kind of tying that in here at the end with just when you're in a waiting season, not letting the emotions of that waiting define that season, but using them as a gift to go, okay, like, Lord, what are you showing me? Laying them down at his feet. And so I said some things for people is pray instead of panic, obey without clarity. So if you don't even have the clarity, still obey. Trust when your emotions are loud, and stay faithful to him in the in-betweens. And so is there anything else you would want to share with them, or even to your younger self, just of like, this is the best way when the emotions rise in the waiting, that you can take it to him and be like, no, I know he's Lord. I don't have to have control over this.
Just want to say, pray before panic. I need to put that on my mirror. I probably need to put that in my car. Like me, and I'm like, they're not letting me in, pray. But keep your eyes open when you're driving.
That too.
I would say, I think about in Matthew, or in the Gospels, I think it's in all the Gospels, when Jesus says, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow has enough trouble of its own. Like, focus on today. And like I said earlier, I think you just jump to the craziest conclusions in waiting season. You think just because it's not happening now means it's never going to happen. And right now, a delay is not a denial. Just because it's not happening overnight, it's not being Amazon Prime to revolve shipped in 2 business days, like the love of your life, doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. Right. And I would jump to the craziest conclusions and be like, well, no guy's asking me out at this church group, so I must be not knowing how to flirt. I must not be looking cute. And just jump to Jesus, jump to prayer more than you jump to conclusions. Yep. Especially when it comes to your emotions. Yes. Allow your emotions to connect you, but not to become something that becomes a feeling that isn't from the Lord. And just focus on today. I look back, and like we were talking about earlier, you probably would not be here if you got married at 22, like on this podcast. I went to my friend's house who has 3 amazing babies. She's doing great in her career, and she became her best self because she got married and pregnant young. Like, how cool it is that God knew exactly what she needed. And she's still my best friend. Our changing seasons may have made our connection different in some ways. Like, sometimes I have to go over and there's like snot on some baby, and I'm like, okay, I'm here. Let's hang out.
Like, how do I do this? But
I know. And but at the end of the day, I look at this friendship and be like, God has blessed her and God has blessed me. I would not be where I am in my career if God had answered the prayer in the timing that Grace Valentine wanted it. Right. And so just remember that the Lord's timing will be revealed over time, that in the right time, under his mighty hand, you will understand. Right. But today, you just need to focus on, how can I be used today as a vessel for God's glory? Yep. And how can I put myself out there in a way where I get to experience all his blessings, not just one. Right. In a way that I can experience his goodness without putting pressure on myself in this area. Because there's also nothing wrong with, if you want something, it's a holy desire, putting yourselves in situations to, you know, DM me and ask me to be on a podcast, like how we became friends. And then you saying yes to coming to a retreat, like being someone who says yes to the Lord's opportunities and isn't scared while also living out your purpose in that season. Right. Once again, my retreat would not have happened if I was single. I wouldn't be half the time. I probably would drive here to Nashville at age 29. Yeah. And so just remembering that there is good in your life today, and you don't need to worry about tomorrow. Just see what the Lord has for you today.
That's really, really good. I feel like being okay with not knowing and still being active in faith. Of like, you also don't have to sit back and go, okay, I'll just wait for this to be over. You can go out and go, okay, Lord, like, I'm going to honor you today with what I got. I'm going to put myself out there. If it doesn't work out, I have to trust that's you. You know, kind of changing your mentality too. Like you were saying, can go a million. It can make your life so much better because you're like, oh, I actually trust him now. And now I don't have to worry about all those other little things that were preoccupying my mind. Now I can just go, no, I'm going to try to honor you and you'll do the rest. So that's super good. Well, Grace, having you on was such a treat. And honestly, I'm just so tender about this. It's just really cool to see the Lord bring you here and meet together again. So I just want to say thank you for coming on. And everything that you said, people are going to really be impacted by, which I already knew that was going to happen. But you spoke some amazing words that I'm excited for them to get to hear.
Well, I'm so excited about this podcast. I've always been a fan of Made for More.
Thank you.
And I just hope everyone knows how lucky they are to listen to you weekly. And so she may not say this, I'm sure she will, but my friend Sarah loves the Lord and cares about each one of you so much. And so like and subscribe. This is going to be your favorite podcast. If this is your 3rd episode, 4th episode, 10th episode, it's one of my favorite podcasts. And so I can't wait to keep listening on to you. And remember to pray before I panic. I'm going to remember that for forever.
I'm loving that. I'm going to get that on my car too. Pray before panic.
I know. It's so weird. I'm like, oh no, the traffic, I'm late.
Pray before you panic. Okay, you guys, well, we want you to remember that you are made for more than your feelings and emotions, and that if you got a pulse, you got a purpose, and that you were made for more. See you guys next time.